Palestine. Say Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Say free Gaza. Again, I would like to thank all the community organizers, performers, activists, and everyone here in the crowd for joining us today, taking off your time and schedule to come out and spare a few minutes for the call of justice. It's Amin Husain, again, a lawyer, an adamant person here at the center of the Occupy Wall Street movement. When I was cut off, I was saying something. When asked what drew him to the Occupy Wall Street movement, he said, I felt it was a moment for something to shift. It's a time to have people empowered to imagine what does it mean to live in a beautiful country like the United States of America. This is a movement not about speaking to people, but about hearing. It's not for the people, it's with the people. It's a new way of thinking, and that's what we're here for. A new way of thinking and a new future, because with the way of thinking today, all we see is chaos, wars, and injustice. And as people who are everyday people, everyday taxpayers, we are fed up with it and we're looking for a new way. We ask everyone to join us together with a loud free Palestine to welcome Brother Amin Husain. Free Palestine!
Free Palestine!
Can you hear me? All right. I'm not a spokesperson for the movement. I'm just a person that got involved back in July. And I'm here today actually for one of the first times doing something on Al-Quds Day. And I'm really happy to be here. But what I want to say is, you know, Ramadan Kareem to everyone that's fasting. And I grew up in Palestine, and I was there during the first Palestinian uprising, and I was a member of Fatah and part of the resistance movement. And then I came over here searching for an American dream that has never existed. People a year ago began to wake up, and it's a process unfolding. What we need to recognize is that when we talk about oppression, our country does it to us every day. Our government, they put us in cages, and they say we're a part of the community. They say if you want to talk your mind, right, you need a permit. All this stuff isn't true. But we have to struggle where we're at. And as a Palestinian, even though my family lives back home, the oppression is here. And it's okay to say that we live in a police state that's repressive, with surveillance on us because of the color of our skin and what we believe in. And we have to put our bodies at risk. And we have to recognize that we can't rely on governments, on NGOs, on charity. And that our economic condition and the way the police treat us, is that right? And the way the police treat us in this country has a lot to do with why we need to stand up for our brothers and sisters at home. But we have to ask the question of how we do it. The connection that I used to tell my dad, and my dad passed away in December. When I was living in Palestine, he said, Amin, why are you throwing rocks? Why are you throwing Molotov cocktails? Why do you fight the settlers? And I told him, what do you mean? I'm trying to imagine another world. I'm trying to imagine a world where I am not oppressed, where I don't live under an occupation that dehumanizes me every day. And he said, I get it. And I was only 14. He said, I get it. But you're either going to die or someone's going to benefit off of your death. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, these people that call and say that you're leaders, they're going to do backside deals. And they're going to trade the blood of martyrs. And they're going to be the people that protect the settlers. And it's going to be the Palestinians that protect the settlers. And then here comes Oslo. And I know this may be weird for some people, but we have to say it. Here comes Oslo. Here comes the Palestinian Authority. Here comes the PLO. Hundreds of families, hundreds of martyrs, thousands, years on a dream like this one. And what do they go do? They sell it. And who's over there right now? Who's Mahmoud Abbas? Who's Ahmad Iqra'? I'll tell you who Mahmoud Abbas is because his house is about 4 blocks away from mine. He has Rottweilers and trainers of Rottweilers from Russia. He has servers. He rides around in 4 Mercedes Benzes. He drives around VIP. He goes wherever he wants. And his son is a businessman that has a shuttle and has a fucking plane going wherever. That's our leaders. And they buy and sell us people. People that sacrifice, people that put their bodies on the line, bought and sold by their leaders. Because it's not about nationality anymore. Borders matter for people that don't have them, that's true. We don't have a country. But the truth is that we have an apathetic people back home. Just like we have an apathetic people over here that rely on leaders to be free. We have to live free. We have to every day live free, without fear, and support each other. Because the idea of being Palestinian is the idea of being human and proud. And our causes are across the globe. And what Occupy brings back to our minds is, what does it mean for critical solidarity? What does it mean for people? Where is power? Who does the government serve? And who do they protect? We've been on the shadows of 9/11 for too long. We didn't do it. This did it. And who owns this? Who controls this? Because I'll tell you what, I'm fighting for Palestine by fighting here. It's not the color of our skin anymore. It's not our religion. It's about living a human, decent life. It's about fighting. It's about fighting. It's about fighting. They make us afraid. They make us afraid and they say you're not legal. They make us afraid and they say you need a permit because you need to obey the law. What law? I studied law. I practiced in Wall Street for 5 years. Law maintains the status quo. Laws protect private property. That's what laws do. These police, the police over here, those used to be slave patrols. That's what they were known as. Slave patrols. When they were slaves, there were patrols, and that was private property. When we fight oppression, we got to recognize that we all have different ways of fighting oppression, and it's based on our privilege. And just because a person is Palestinian, that's not the end of the analysis. What matters is that we treat each other differently. Because we're taught to be afraid of one another. We're taught that our differences are enough to not unite us against really the common enemy. People should be given the option. That's true. They should be given the option of being with people or against them. But the fact that 1% of the population of this world controls 99% of us is just bullshit. And that is not an abstraction. It's not about talking about capitalism or socialism or whatever. It's about every day of our life, living the ideals that we believe in. So if you're Palestinian and you're worried about liberation, don't oppress your brother and sister. Recognize that black people in this country are oppressed. They're still oppressed. Just because you have a black president doesn't mean shit. These are the new things that we need to think about, because our liberation struggle is bound with one another. They tell us it's Shia and Sunni. They tell us it's like Iraq and Iran and Palestine and Gaza and the West Bank and the people that came from Tunisia. They sow all these differences in us. On Al-Quds Day, I'll tell you, in 1967, history is about narratives. And who writes the story? People with power. In 1967, there was barely any Jews in Jerusalem. And to the extent that there were Jews, they considered themselves Palestinians. That was then. And what do you have right now? You have laws on the books that make sure that if you're a family of 5 and you want to grow and you want to get married and you want to have a family, that you have to leave that Jerusalem, that you have to leave that place. And what is the Palestinian Authority saying? Nothing. The two-state solution has been dead for 15 years. We need to come to terms to that. I just want to say one last remark. Let's not rely on leaders. They've always bought and sold us. We have each other. There's power over. That's what governments do to people, and they're responsive to corporations. And then there's power over, and then there's power under. The power that we're interested in is power with each other. And we create that power and we don't give it up. And we treat people with respect. And we live our life without fear. Because they tell us if we stay on the same line, we'll be okay. We're never okay. They take an inch, then they take a mile. We have to fight our battles and we can't delay them.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Say free, free Palestine!